When I watch a trial and I listen to the lawyers and I'm trying to figure things out, yes, it's extremely important what the lawyer says in his opening statement, both sides. But what is also important is what they don't say. Now, today, opening statements, day one of the retrial of the century, the Karen Reed case. I listened to the opening statements from both sides. I listened to what they said, and I listened to what they didn't say. And there's a lot to jump into, but this case was clearly framed, pun intended, in two different, completely different ways today. Not only by what was said, but by what was left out. So, in this video, I'm going to focus on what the prosecutor left out, and then we're going to flip it and take a look at what the defense left out. Because on both sides, it's extremely telling about how this case has been framed by both sides, where they are going, where their strengths are, but most importantly, where the weaknesses lie. I'm Vinny Politan, lead anchor for Court TV, and this is Vinny Live.
Get ready, get set, let's go!
It's true crime, streaming live, worldwide. It's Vinny Live. It's true crime, streaming live, worldwide. It's Vinny Live. Get ready to post inside the chat. Get ready for the prosecutor hat. Get set to like and to subscribe. Let's go. It's time for Vinny Live.
What a difference a year makes. What a big, big difference. And anyone who was watching today and watched last year, you know exactly what the big difference is. Oh, yeah. You've got a much better prosecutor. Just much better at telling a story. That's what we do inside the courtroom. Prosecutors, we've got to tell the story because we're going to prove the story. But if you don't tell the story, how can you prove the story? The jury will be lost. And in the first case, no offense, but the original prosecutor, Lally, I mean, he did not have the gift of speaking in a very concise, precise, organized way. And this prosecutor does. This prosecutor does. Hank Brennan, much, much better, much, much more organized, easier to follow, everything, which is what you expect in a case of this level. You expect great lawyering on both sides. We know what the defense is bringing. We saw that last time. What we didn't know is what was the prosecution bringing this time, and we got a taste of it. But as good as his opening statement was, and both sides were very good today, by the way. But as good as his opening statement was, I want to talk about what the prosecutor left out because it was extremely telling. It was picked up by Alan Jackson immediately. It was like, for anyone that knows the case, knows the story, knows everything that has transpired here, it was bigger than big. But Hank Brennan left out Trooper Proctor from his opening statement. Where'd he go? Where'd the lead investigator go? Where'd the guy that put this all together, the guy that made the arrest, where did he go? Completely left out. That tells me a couple things. One, Hank Brennan is not going to have an easy time dealing with that because he didn't want to deal with it in his opening statement. Now, you don't want to be defensive in your opening statement, but he made no preparations for this jury. He did not prepare them for what Alan Jackson was going to pounce on by him leaving him completely out of the case. And that tells me a lot. That tells me that they don't have a great answer for the conduct and procedurally what happened to Trooper Proctor here. And I don't know how they're going to handle it in the trial. We shall see when he gets called. And they kind of did this in the first case, which you don't usually do with the lead investigators. The stuff that you've got to get in, but you're a little worried about it, you shove it in the middle of the case. The beginning and the end, you start strong, you finish strong. And you put the other stuff that you have to put in, the stuff that's boring or the stuff that could be potentially harmful, you've got to put it in the middle. And that's where he'll end up, right? That's where Proctor will end up when prosecutors call him. They have to call him, don't they? I think they do. So when you think about what he left out, that is the Achilles heel. Now, let me just give you, just a little bit of the history that I have as a former prosecutor and someone who's watched hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of trials. It is difficult. The most difficult thing you can do as a prosecutor is ask a jury to believe your case beyond a reasonable doubt when you've got problems with the investigators, the police officers. Period. And most of the time, those problems are unrelated to the case. But here it's directly related to the case. Directly. And you are asking this jury to believe you and your case beyond a reasonable doubt when you have extreme, like the worst, almost the worst, maybe it is the worst possible situation with your investigation. This isn't just sloppy. This is fireable offenses committed by the lead investigator. And the way Alan Jackson flipped it real quick, because Hank Brennan, as good as he was in taking a case and doing the job that you're supposed to do, taking a case that is like all over the place, crazy, and making it simple. And he did. He made it very simple, very straightforward in telling the story, which is what you have to do. He left out part of the story, though. Part of the story is my lead investigator is a bum, right? Like he left that part out. Now, could he have? Was there a way to include? Well, that's what you've got to figure out, because that is the weakest part of your case. But it's not a small deal; it's a big deal. And this has nothing to do with Haas Long or anything along those lines. This is in any case you have. You've got a problem with a police officer. If the jury has some reason not to believe in them, if they are not pristine, if they're not clean, if they did not come in and investigate this case the way we expect our detectives, our troopers, our local police, our FBI, whoever it is, if it's not done the way we expect them to do it, with is just get the facts figured out, solve the case, and present the evidence. But that's not who they have. That's not what happened here. And that is such a huge, gaping problem. And I understand why he doesn't want to talk about it, but he didn't talk about it and he left it out, which meant for this jury, right out of the gate. Remember, the opening statement lays out what you believe the facts are going to be. It also creates the filter through which the jury hears the evidence. And Hank Brennan did a great job, but he left out that part. Obviously, Alan Jackson was going to talk about it no matter what, but he took something that was big and made it huge. Because all of a sudden the jury's like, well, wait a minute. What? Why didn't he mention that about the lead investigator? Now, this is very similar, but not exactly the same, right? Because it was a different kind of case. But in the, I'm going to say it, Casey Anthony case, Jose Baez in his opening statement changed the filter for the rest of the evidence. Because when he finished, everyone was thinking about George Anthony. George Anthony, George Anthony, George Anthony. Now they're thinking about Trooper Proctor, and the Alberts. So after I listened to Hank Brennan's opening statement, there were three people I wanted to hear from. After Alan Jackson's opening statement, there were two people I wanted to hear from. And from both perspectives, it's the way they framed their cases. It's the way they framed the cases and the evidence and piqued my interest. So let me begin with Alan Jackson. I want to hear Trooper Proctor on the witness stand. I want to hear Brian Albert, because he painted the picture that the Alberts were like, pulling all the strings in Canton. And Brian Albert is the godfather. That was the picture I got. So if I'm in the jury box, I want to see this guy. I want to hear this guy. Who is he? Who is this guy that's pulling all the strings like this? And then who is this Proctor guy? Why did he get fired? How dirty is he? I want him in here right now. I want to hear from him right now. That's the reaction. Now, let's flip it, because Alan Jackson left something out of his opening statement, which was really I think where Hank Brennan wants to focus this case, which is the black box and John O'Keefe's phone and the cell phone data. And he made the statement, he's got to prove it. But he basically said this comes down to irrefutable scientific evidence that doesn't have bias, that doesn't have an opinion, whose memory doesn't fade. And he wants this jury focused and the case framed upon John O'Keefe's phone data and the black box from Karen Reed's car. And when he finished his opening statement, I was like, I want to hear from those two witnesses, and I want them to make some sense this time. Because the way Hank Brennan presented it was very logical. It made sense. Again, he was telling a story that made sense. That's who I wanted to hear. I also want to see all these clips of Karen Reed making admissions on television. That's what I want to see. You show me a piece of one, I want to see them all. So after Hank Brennan's opening statement, what I want to see Karen Reed basically admitting things and confessing in these television interviews. And I want to see how the black box proves that you ran him over, and how his cell phone proves that's where he was. That's what I'm expecting. Those are my expectations. Now, what Alan Jackson left out of his opening statement was anything about, he addressed the alleged confessions and said taken out of context, but he didn't address the black box. He didn't address the cell phone data to the extent that it resonated with me. I didn't hear that. It wasn't a big deal, if at all. Like, it wasn't there. So is that is that the Achilles heel for the defense? We'll see. But both sides leaving prominent parts of the other side's cases out of their opening statements. To me, absolutely fascinating. Now, here's what we always have to remember. And excuse my voice, it's almost coming back. I was knocked out last week, completely knocked out. What we have to remember is only one side has a burden of proof here, which is the prosecution. The defense doesn't have to prove anything. They will attempt to raise doubts, etc. But they don't have to prove anything. So, and it gets back to this one thing, which is why I think what the prosecutor left out is much more important, because the prosecutor carries the burden. Can you convince 12 people to trust you, to believe you? To trust you and believe you beyond a reasonable doubt when you've got a serious, serious problem with your lead officer, your lead investigator, your lead trooper who's been fired because of this case. That by itself, in any other trial I'm covering on Court TV, in the past, in the future, is all you need. Many times, most of the time, almost all the time, that is all you need because of the incredible burden that we have. So this isn't a case about necessarily the defense proving that someone else did this. Obviously, they laid the groundwork for that, right? But you have to get 12 people who come in. Remember, these are straight. They come in and they take their jobs extremely seriously. And when they are, and they got a preview of it, but when they think about what is the level of proof that is necessary, how do I have to feel inside about trusting this case? How do you trust a case if you don't trust the messenger? And when I say messenger of this, I mean the lead investigator, the one who told prosecutors, this is the person who did it. When this is the person who throws the cuffs on the defendant to charge her with second degree. Like, how do you get to that point? It makes your burden so much higher. Ladies and gentlemen, please ignore the fact that our lead investigator did not investigate and was admittedly biased by his own words from his own communication. How do you get there? Ignore the fact that our lead investigator was fired because of the work he did on this case. I don't know how you overcome that. And it became like, I've known this all the way up, and it was to a certain extent a part of the case before, but you saw how it became this by far the centerpiece of the defense case this time around. And that's different. And that is much, much different. They really, and this falls in, I think anytime a defense attorney has this fact in their pocket, like usually it's and Alan Jackson sort of referenced this because in other cases, I'm sure he's had this where an officer did something wrong in another case and got in trouble for it. So why should we trust you now if you did something wrong last time? But this is about doing something wrong in this case. You are asking a lot of that jury. You really are. Obviously, it can be done, but you're asking an awful lot of this jury when you come into a case with that problem. And I guess that's why Brendan left it out. He's trying to keep the case like this, simple, which when you look at it on paper, again, if you believe the prosecution theory, it is a hit and run. It's a hit and run, which is not the most complicated case in the world. They are perhaps the most simple, which is perhaps why in this case, the investigation was done the way it was done with not so much depth, right? But he's trying to keep the case here. The defense is taking it beyond here. And I think because of the way everything is developed, the case actually is more out here. And the prosecutor is going to have to wrangle it in and deal with it. But the bottom line here is that what the prosecutor left out here to me is telling. To me is telling. And where he is going and where he is going to focus, he's going to try to stay away from all of the drama and everything else in this case. And he's trying to keep this jury focused on the things that are absent any of that drama, the human side of all of this. And he's going to try to focus on the cell data and the black box and the way they are working in conjunction. The defense has their own take on all of that. But what Hank Brennan did today was deliver it in a manner that sounds like it should be very simple to follow and should be very easy to follow. In putting those two pieces of evidence together to tell a story about what happened at the moment John O'Keefe was knocked to the ground from the defense perspective. Does the defense have a comeback to that? Well, yeah, they've got their own experts, their own interpretations. We saw that last time around. I'm just wondering if Hank Brennan is going to be better at delivering this to the jury in a manner that it makes sense and clicks, to the extent that he can overcome the defense, the defense rebuttal of that evidence, along with the burden of trying to carry Trooper Proctor over the finish line in this case. And it's going to be tough. It's going to be very, very tough. All right. Just got to check at work. So obviously tonight on Court TV, 8 o'clock, we'll be covering this in depth. We'll bring in our insiders. We've got Matt Johnson, who was up there. So we'll have a full feel for what was happening, what you saw with the cameras, and what you didn't see as well. All that at 8 o'clock tonight on Court TV, and 9 o'clock, Lori Daybell as well. So we've got all that going on. I know we've got a lot of people checking in with a lot of opinions about what happened today. So I want to get to some of them pretty quickly today because, as I said, I've got to get ready for 8 o'clock tonight. And I am just recovering after a week of having difficulty speaking, which is always a problem in my business. And we begin with Michelle L. AJ did address the triggering events on the car. Okay, he's got his take on it. He's got his take. Will Hank Brennan be better at marshaling that evidence than Lally was? My guess is yes, absolutely yes. Will it make more sense? Can they present it in a way that is easier for the jury to follow, and for the jury to understand, and for the jury to say, "Oh, okay, that makes sense," and that's what they need to do. Obviously, the defense has to deal with it, but I don't know. I don't know if the defense wants this to come down to a battle of those types of records. I think they want the jury going into other places. Jennifer Lego, thank you so much. Question: are there plans for another season of Accomplice to Murder? Al for president. Jennifer, right now we're on indefinite hiatus with Accomplice to Murder at this particular moment. But as soon as we get plans to get season 3 going, I will absolutely let you know. But right now we're on official hiatus without a date of return. So I will keep you up to date, but thank you so much for watching. All right. I'm definitely going to keep as current as I can today. Vinny, wouldn't many DAs drop charges after the train wreck? That is Proctor. This DA supporting his incompetence and corruption. Both sides are dug in, right? So what would I have done as a prosecutor? Number one, I, as a prosecutor, ethically, I would have wanted to hear from the jury. I would have wanted to hear from the jury if, in fact, they had all 12 had voted not guilty. And then if I was convinced that that was the fact, after just asking them that simple question, and if they all agreed that they did find her not guilty of counts 1 and 3, I would have proceeded with just count 2. I also would have engaged in plea negotiations. I don't think at this point anyone's going to drop the charges. The charges won't be dropped. I would have thought there would have been an opportunity, but both sides are dug in. They hate each other. And I'm not saying Hank Brennan hates anyone, but I'm saying, like, the DA's office is really upset with the way all of this has transpired. The DA is really upset with all of it. That's why he put out that video. He doesn't believe in what this defendant and this defense has done. So he's not going to offer anything. He's dug in. He's going to try this case, and he'll keep trying it and trying it and trying it until there's a verdict. So, yeah, but it's a major, major problem. I think most DAs would not drop it, but they would fold to a certain extent in terms of offering a very amenable plea offer in the case. And we've seen that before. And we've seen cases that have gone on where all of a sudden, the one thing they don't have, though, they didn't have an opportunity to offer a time served. What happens in a lot of cases like this, the defendant is incarcerated. And then they're like, okay, we can save face by getting a time served sort of plea deal. Or you can do a nolo contendere. The best example of this is when the staircase, the Michael Peterson case, fell apart because not the lead investigator, but the blood spatter expert turned out to be a fraud. It was proven in a whole bunch of other cases. It wasn't necessarily proven in that case. What he did was questionable, the experiments, but it was proven that he had falsified results in other cases. And as a result, prosecutors knew they could not go forward. They gave a time served nolo contendere, where he doesn't admit it, but he says, yeah, there's enough evidence to convict me, but I'm not admitting that I did it. And time served is my punishment. And then it's over. So you do see DAs do that when there are problems with investigators that are uncovered subsequently to the indictment. So I could absolutely see that, but not in this case. It's personal here. It is personal, folks. It's 1000% personal. Spend 5 minutes up there and you'll see. Okay. Jennifer Sube. Oh, wait, where is it? Oh, that's Gen X. Agreeing with Sube, and Jennifer Sube saying the prosecutor's opening was fire. Of course, Jennifer Sube, Gen X, part of our mod squad.
Order in the chat. Order in the chat. Don't dare attack. We've got order in this chat. The mod squad is on the job, helping us to keep it clean. The mod squad is on the job, always so nice and never mean. So let's
all right, folks. A big thank you to Gen X, Frankie Figs, Jennifer Sube, and Ashley Bouchard over on Facebook, our mod squad, keeping law and order each and every day. Thank you all so much. It is appreciated. Taking a look at some more. Nico 4. And Al killed Michael Peterson's wife. No, I saw the trial. I was pretty much convinced it was Michael Peterson that did it. I did think some unfair things happened during the course of the trial, including that expert. That's very problematic. So I think at the end they did the right thing. But it was not an owl at the actual trial when it happened. The owl was a joke amongst all of us, because there was a man going around trying to sell, the neighbor was selling the owl theory to everyone, and everybody had a good chuckle. And then all of a sudden it became a thing after if it became a thing after the staircase, right? People start saying, well, what could have been the owl? Come on. Really? The owl? Come on. She was found inside the house, down the hall, and in the stairwell. What kind of owl was this? That's crazy. Oh, April Diaz is with us as well.
Thank you, April Diaz. Have a great day today. Thank you, April Diaz. We appreciate everything you say.
Thank you to April Diaz. Today, if you have a public defender and guilty, can you get an appeal the same way automatically? Also, hope you feel better. Okay, the answer to this question, April, is it depends. It absolutely depends. And what it depends upon, if it's a DPEN, the ultimate punishment, you get an an appeal and it'll be automatic, etc. In other cases, it's going to depend. It's going to depend upon the jurisdiction. It's going to depend upon your ability to post and qualify for the public defender. And each jurisdiction has their own sets of rules. It also depends upon the charges that you are facing as to how much stuff is automatic. And thank you for hoping I feel better. I hope you feel better as well, April. Thank you so much. Let's see who else is here. All right, Lori Ryan, Vinny, what is your thoughts? Guilty or not? That's a very deep question. Okay. Last time I agreed with the jury. Neither side proved their case. There was the difference is, though, when the prosecution doesn't prove their case, it should be a not guilty verdict, right? So the burden is on the prosecution to prove it. I don't think they proved it last time because I don't think they had the expert testimony to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he was struck by a car. I just don't think it wasn't there. It wasn't there. We'll see if they do better this time in proving that. But that was very problematic. The problems I had, you had all these people looking out the window. Everyone's looking out the window. No one saw what happened. All these people walking out, driving away. No one saw him there in the snow. One person saw a black blob. You had the potential for witnesses, but nobody saw it. By the same token, like when it comes to proving the third party culprit and the third party theory, here is the problem in this case and in every case is that in most other cases, it's not every case, I'll give you the exception. In proving that, it's almost impossible for a defendant to prove it to the same extent that a prosecutor can prove his or her case. That's because we don't bring charges until we have all the evidence against this person, and we control who's investigated and how the investigation goes forward. In this case, no one in the house was ever investigated. Therefore, all the potential evidence that may have existed is gone, does not exist. Okay? Within those first 48 hours of John O'Keefe being found, the way the investigation went, there's no way you were going to be able to gather enough evidence to prove to the same extent, beyond a reasonable doubt, that someone else committed this crime. You just can't. It's difficult enough when all the evidence points to someone and you bring that person into court and you have to prove it in front of the jury. By the same token, if those people are never investigated, how on earth can you prove the case against them? The best you can do is raise some doubt or raise some questions. And I think that's what the defense is left with here. So I suspect in this case, as well as in the first case, I am not going to be convinced that it was proven that someone else did this. And that's not their burden. Their burden is to either demonstrate that prosecutors didn't prove it, didn't have enough evidence to prove that Karen Reed did it, or did not have the evidence to demonstrate that someone else didn't do it. And what I mean there is that once you raise the specter of, well, how about this person? How about that person? Through cross-examination, however you do it. And there is no comeback to that. Where what I'm talking about is raising reasonable doubt by raising the scenario that someone else could have done it. That it's not unreasonable based upon what we have seen and heard that someone else could have done it. That too is the definition of reasonable doubt. That there's a reasonable alternative explanation. It's not an explanation that is proven beyond a reasonable doubt, but it's just another reasonable explanation. And the prosecutor has to eliminate all of those. And have they eliminated all of those? Did they last time? No, they didn't last time. And that was because of the way they put the case in, the way they put in their witnesses, the way they made their arguments, etc., the witnesses they chose. And this is a case where you need experts. Prosecution cannot prove this case without a true expert. And they didn't have it last time. You've got a new expert this time. Experts this time that need to make a huge difference. Need to make a huge difference for them to meet their burden with the burden that they're carrying. Trooper Michael Proctor is the burden. So guilty or not, I don't know. The jury will tell us. The jury will tell us. The evidence will tell us. And we won't know till the end of the trial. I can only tell you from the first trial. I think there's a better chance in the second trial that prosecutors win this. I think there's a better chance than they had in the first case, even with the Proctor problem, just because the level of prosecutor has been raised so much. I mean, so much. So what does that do? It does two things. It's not just about the opening and the closing, which are absolutely significant, but it is also about the questioning of witnesses, just the direct examination. Just in the, all right. I need this. All right. Let me take a couple of these too. For those of you keeping track at home. All right. So that's what this is. And this is now really, and the way it was framed today, much more of a traditional reasonable doubt case. If you listen closely to Alan Jackson, yeah, he's talking about bad cop, dirty cop got fired, but he also talked about sloppy police work. I hear that in every trial. There has not been one case where a defense attorney has ever come in and not said that this was sloppy police work. But that's part of the defense now. It's not just the framed. It's all right. We pull back to the traditional defense arguments, very traditional. And the reason they're traditional is because that's the way our system's built. Prosecutor has to prove it. We don't have to prove anything. Just have to raise a reasonable doubt. If they haven't met their burden, if they haven't gotten all the way there for whatever reason, sloppy police work, crooked police, another reasonable explanation, whatever it is that prevents prosecutors from getting beyond a reasonable doubt, that's what you argue. And I think it's going to be much more traditional this time. Powerful, but traditional. The only reason I believe prosecutors have a better chance this time, doesn't mean they win, it's because of Hank Brennan. You saw it, folks. Whichever side you're on, you know that he's better in front of a jury than the first prosecutor was. You know that he's better at questioning witnesses on direct than the first prosecutor was. And my guess is he'll be better on cross-examination as well. We shall see. All right, let's see. Oh, boy.
To get happy. It's time to get funky. It's time for us to smile. Because here comes Max Spunky.
All right, we need a lot of McSpunky in this trial, by the way. Thank you so much. We need a lot of McSpunky because of the nature of this case. Everyone is dug in, right? Just about everyone is dug in, and they're dug in even deeper second time around. And anything you say can and will be used against you in the chat, on your stream, on television. I mean, it doesn't matter. I can attest to the direct messages and messages in the chat room that I get on different live streams and different videos I post, or you know, clips of me that other people put up there. And everyone is in severe attack mode, whatever you say. Like I'm looking at some here already. Like I am doing nothing but analyzing this case. And from what perspective do I analyze it? For those of you who don't know me, I'm a former prosecutor, number one. So I've tried cases. I've been in the courtroom. I've been covering the nation's highest profile trials for decades. And while each trial does bring something that I've never seen before, I've seen a lot. I've seen a real lot. So that's my perspective. This is what I do. Now, this particular case has brought people into the mix, and I'm glad it's brought people into the mix who have never before necessarily been interested in true crime or in our criminal justice system. And now they're in, and I'm glad they're in. But a lot of them will attack for different, you say one thing and then boom, they attack you. Every trial I've ever covered has two sides. Sometimes most people see it one way. Sometimes people are split. And sometimes people see it another way. I will say more recently, we have many more people that are skeptical of the government, of the prosecution, and our system. And that's a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. It's a good thing because we all should be skeptical and we shouldn't take anyone at their word or anything at its word in a trial. It's got to be proven. That's number one. But that's why it's a good thing. I think it's a bad thing because I think some of that mistrust has been earned by our system. And that's unfortunate. That's a reflection of the system, which, I've been covering and have been a part of. And I think that's sad that there is that level of mistrust at this point. But it's been earned. Same way that the mistrust of the media has been earned. And that's sad. You've got to earn it back. And the skepticism is healthy. But I think with the skepticism has to come an open mind as well. And sometimes there has to be an acknowledgement. I think the acknowledgement by the folks who are on Karen Reed's side today, not that you have to believe him, but you have to acknowledge that Hank Brennan is going to be much better at his job than the first prosecutor. So that's an admission. I think if you are a believer that Karen Reed is guilty, you have to acknowledge that Trooper Proctor is an enormous problem that is a bigger problem second time around. You have to acknowledge that. So I think from both sides, what we learned today from day one of the retrial is that it's going to be different. This trial is going to be different. Just Nina, bottom line, guilty or not guilty, should dismiss due to corruption, missing video, tampering, perjury, fired lead investigator, double jeopardy, and can be proven scary. And just Nina, I'll go through each one of them. Corruption, missing video, tampering, perjury, fired lead investigator, double jeopardy. Those are all, and I think we heard, to a certain extent, we heard all of that laid out through the defense attorney's opening statement. So that should be powerful information. And you've just got to back it up. Because at the end of the day, like I said, and I started this video with, the trust level, a jury, 12 of them need to trust the government. And the government is more than just the prosecutor. It's the prosecutor, his witnesses, his investigators. All need to be believed and trusted beyond a reasonable doubt. Oh, this is an interest. So thank you so much, Nina. Earth, Moon, Stars. Why do people get their own song? Why? McSpunky, it's easy. Like, how can you not give this guy his own song? Like, how can you not? With that smile. It really started with McSpunky because he was the one who sort of, I call him the intermezzo, the one who cleanses our palates. We're talking about true crime every day. And I like to just take a moment, whether we're fighting in the chat room or I'm fighting with Al or Jonesy, or if we're talking about something really difficult and we just need to take a break from it. That's where the McSpunky comes from. And that was the inspiration for the song, the tone, and everything else. And it really came from that look on his face and then what he has to say every day. April Diaz went through a really difficult time, and she seems like she's doing better. We hope she's doing better. And she's always wishing everyone great things. And that's where that came from. The Mod Squad, it's because they're the Mod Squad. I mean, it's unbelievable all this work they do during the live stream and between live streams. It's amazing. So just be thankful for them. And for others, a couple of people have them. They won them during the Christmas show. So I don't know. It's random, but it's not random, if you know what I mean. But obviously, everyone can have a song, or can they? Okay. Nick Rocco, who will be on the show tonight. Vinny, did you hear someone got arrested today being in the buffer zone? He isn't on for side, but he was wrongly arrested. We have some video of that we're going to show folks today. So we did get some video of that. So yeah, we'll be part of the show. Thank you, Nick Rocco in the house. Let's see. Okay. Jury Duty Pod, Kimberly B. Can you please ask them to make my song The Jersey Turnpike? All right. A Jersey girl probably gets the inside track for a song, right? Mm-hmm. Question, Vinny, why are they bringing up the last trial? Shouldn't these jurors not know about it? Well, here's the trick, right? Did they actually say at the last trial? Or did they say when I was testifying last year? Because you can use prior inconsistent testimony to impeach a witness's credibility, and you have to do that. You're not supposed to say at the last trial because the jury's not supposed to know about the trial or the result, etc. If a witness slips it out, it's one thing. A lawyer should not say that. It's another thing. But they can know about prior testimony at a prior hearing is usually the way it's done. So you are correct that they shouldn't know that there was a trial. They shouldn't know the results of the prior trial. The best that they should know is that the person testified previously and that testimony, which was also sworn, is inconsistent with what they're saying today. All right. Let's see what we have here. And it seems like people are getting along okay. Like I always say, like people should disagree, like whether it's on my TV show or whether it's in the chat room. I mean, you should disagree and you should have a vigorous debate about it. You just have to refrain from the personal attacks, right? Like the rules that we use in the courtroom, where we don't personally attack people, it's kind of like what you do in the chat room, where it's not a personal attack. It's like, hey, you know, I don't agree with you because of X, Y, and Z. Not, I don't agree with you because you're a dummy or because you're blankety, blankety, blank. No, that's not how we do it. Or you're a blankety, blankety, blank because you believe X, Y, and Z. No. All right. You believe X, Y, and Z. I believe STU, right? Like, and we can debate it. We can argue. We can disagree without being disagreeable, right? Like to me, that's every single trial. It did not start with this case. It will not end with this case. Every single trial is that way. It's just in this case, the numbers are a lot closer, right? It's there's a lot more people who are supporting the accused than normal. And yeah, for some of the local folks directly connected, it got very personal. But it's not. It's like who was it? Nothing personal, Mike. It was just business. Tell Mikey it wasn't personal. It was just business. Like, the business of a trial is that there are at least two sides to it. Both sides are going to debate it. Both sides are going to fight for their side. And people who have opinions about these cases can likewise do that. All right. All right, folks. I'm getting close to having to skedaddle. Oh, boy. This is something. I have to skedaddle for two reasons. One reason is right here. I'm on the second shot already of this stuff. So 8 o'clock tonight, Karen Reed, all the latest, all the big moments, best analysis, trial insiders, Matt Johnson live in Massachusetts. 9 o'clock, we'll be talking about Lori Daybell and the big verdict, the Lori Daybell verdict tonight at 9 o'clock, and Vinnie Politan investigates. As Nick is telling us, verdict is in for Dumbbell. Okay, so there we go. We got that. I want to make sure I got everyone. Beautiful. So before I go, because I got to run, I got to get ready for all this stuff happening. What you can do is, I am type 1 diabetic. You've seen me taking 2 shots of glucose plus some glucose pills, which means my numbers are low. That's all I'm going to tell you, because it's time to guess my blood sugar. We do one winner every quarter. Doris won the first quarter, and this is the first competition of quarter number 2.
Here's a type 1. He's type 1. His pancreas is on first. He has diabetes, type 1 juvenile diabetes. And so it's time to guess, is more or less. What's his blood sugar? What's Vinny's blood sugar?
Lindsay Tyler.
Under 70, he gets lightheaded.
Look at that.
Under 60, all the alarms start ringing.
Lindsay Tyler.
Over 180, he starts to get lethargic.
Writing it down on my list.
But when it's 90, Vinny, eyes are singing. And so it's time to guess, is more or less. What's his blood sugar? What's Vinny's blood sugar?
Congratulations to Lindsay
Take a
Tyler.
guess.
Wins the first
Yes,
blood
take
sugar
a guess.
competition of the quarter. Awesome job, Lindsay. Keep playing, Lindsay, because you're now in the lead to win quarter 2, which is will be your choice from the Vinny Originale store.
Hey everybody,
Hey everybody,
I've got something for your body.
for your body.
You can wear it by yourself or with Frankie Valli. It's true crime merch from Vinny Originale. It's true crime merch. It's true crime merch. It's true crime merch from Vinny Originale. From Vinny Originale.
That's right, folks. You can get some true crime merch over at the Vinny Originale store. Just Google Vinny Originale, should pop up. We got those allegedly sweatshirts. We got some new mugs in. We got some great Tangent gear as well. So we got that. Amy's Positive Pathways. I can't with how whiny Hank Brennan and his temper tantrums. My sister was killed by a drunk driver. So sorry, Amy. And I am mad at the investigation, cops drinking and driving, but I don't think a car hit John O'Keefe. Thank you so much, Amy. Yeah, I'm so sorry that you lost your sister. That the drunk driving is a real problem. I think Mothers Against Drunk Drivers raised a lot of awareness. I think the numbers are better these days than they were back in the 80s and 90s and 70s, but it's still a problem, and it shouldn't be a problem, especially with Uber and everything else that exists these days. Thank you so much. All right, folks. I've got to go because of I got to do the show tonight. I'll see you tonight at 8 o'clock on Court TV. Thank you to the Mod Squad, Gen X, Frankie Figs, Jennifer Soubey, and Ashley Bouchard. Thank you for the great chat. Thank you for being nice to one another. Check out the merch. Check out the show. And have a great night. And don't forget to hug the kids.
Say goodbye. Thank you for watching Vinny Live. We'll be back, but I don't know when. We hope that you will watch again. Vinny Live. It's Vinny Live. Whoa, it's Vinny Live. To our awesome mosh. Thank you for those super chats. Please hit the like and do subscribe. Let's do it again on Vinny Live. Now before you go, just one more thing. Please post below, say anything. Before you go, just one more thing. Please post below, say anything.